This is a Game of Thrones Season 8 prediction video based on speculation, imagination, and clues found in both book and show stories. This may contain spoilers for those who are not up to date with seasons 1 through 7 and all current books released. By the way, the title of this video is not a clickbait title. If you clicked on this video to only hear about Cersei's zombie baby, it will be discussed in the second half of this video. Cersei is going to be a very busy girl this season.
Hi, I'm Raylene, and welcome to Khaleesi Clues. Today's video will be the third in a series of Game of Thrones Season 8 prediction videos that I am currently making for my channel. This video will be picking up basically where my previous video titled Jaime Lannister and the Return of the Blackfish left off. So if you're trying to follow how the predictions progress together, you may want to stop and watch my previous two videos and then come back to this. I'm really excited to finally get some of these predictions out. I've had them for so long, and it's just really nice to finally get them out and hopefully get some feedback from everybody. So with all that said, I hope you really enjoy my predictions, and on with the video.
My last video was mostly about what I believe some of Jaime's plans may be for Season 8. Now it's time for me to talk a little more about our crazy mad queen, Cersei. Last season we heard her enlighten Jaime about her secret plans with Euron. That Euron was already sailing across the sea to retrieve the Golden Company. So we definitely know that they are coming next season. Where and how she intends to use them will definitely be interesting, to say the least. In the meantime, what I believe we will all soon find out is that her secret plan with Euron is not the only thing she kept from Jaime. It clearly came as a surprise to Jaime that she would keep such plans from him, but it also tells us just how little she trusts him at this point and just how paranoid she is becoming of people in general. We also heard her statement to Jaime claiming her plans of staying in King's Landing and taking back the lands that belong to them, to let the monsters fight each other and then basically tend to whatever is left of them when the war in the north is over. We also nervously watched as she nearly gave the order to the Mountain to kill Jaime as he decided to walk away from her and her plans of betrayal, wanting no part of either. Sadly, he is also walking away from their unborn child, leaving her alone and pregnant. And did I mention hormonal? As if she needs any more fuel for that crazy train. Let me just tell you, no one is safe at this point. As I stated in my previous video, I think Cersei's first step would be sending the ravens out to all of her bannermen and troops, informing them that Jaime is no longer in command. I would also think that she will want him retrieved and returned to King's Landing, where he can be held accountable for his treason to her. Like she said, no one walks away from me. It makes me wonder if she might send Bronn out as a mission to bring Jaime back in for justice. Although if she does do this, I do believe Bronn will be jumping ship and joining Jaime's efforts to gather troops and heading north. I would think Cersei would realize that Bronn seems more loyal to Jaime than he is to her, but it could be a way to reconnect the two characters for the story. Bronn's storyline kind of depends on Jaime's character. Jaime was shown leaving alone. The only other possibility would be if Bronn had already decided to leave King's Landing on his own. He could already be heading up north to take Tyrion up on his offer. As we all know, a Lannister always pays his debts. Maybe we can see that awesome duo one last time in Season 8 before the story is completed. I'm sure Tyrion will be in dire need of some protection soon enough. One thing is for sure, Cersei is going to be under a lot of pressure with Jaime's departure. She knows time is of the essence right now. Jaime is armed with the knowledge of her so-called plans of non-involvement in the Great War. She knows she has to find Jaime and bring him in before he makes it to Winterfell and ruins her plans. Her real plans, that is. the plans that she once again kept from him, the commander of her armies. I believe Cersei has something actually quite different in mind other than just staying and waiting in King's Landing. She has to have something else in mind in order to collect what she was promised, her Valonqar. Tyrion is not just going to turn himself over to Cersei and trust in her word that she will uphold her end of the deal of supplying troops for the war effort. If that was the case, he would have turned himself over to her while at the Dragon Pit meeting. Tyrion's not coming to her. She's got to go get him, and she will. In order for her to collect her prize, her troops have to show up at Winterfell. They have to at least put on a front as if she is upholding her end of the deal with Tyrion. Otherwise, the pact between Tyrion and Cersei would be null and void, and there is no way that she is going to miss her opportunity to get her hands on him. She has the same mentality towards Tyrion that Bronn has where Jaime is concerned. Nobody else gets to kill you. Only I get to kill you. Sorry, there I go again about Cersei killing Tyrion. Like I said in my last video, let's all not freak out quite yet. But getting back to our Mad Queen's plans, I believe that is exactly what she will do. I believe that our Mad Queen is going to be traveling out of her safety zone this coming season. Cersei is going to have to make things happen quickly in order for her plans to work out. Like I said, time is of the essence. She needs to stay one step ahead of everyone. She just lost the commander for her troops, and Euron is on his way to Essos to ferry the Golden Company to Westeros. Who can she trust to take command of her armies? Who does she have 100% faith in to be competent enough to carry out such an important mission? Who can she rely on to actually keep her most deviant plans confidential? Does she really even have time to waste trying to find someone to fill such a role? Can anyone think of someone to fill these shoes? Sure, they could introduce a new character, but it would be a bit awkward and rushed. There is only one person I can think of, and that is, drumroll please, Cersei. Yes, I believe Lena Headey is going to get her wish this final season. Our Mad Queen is going on the road again, heading back to Winterfell. Talk about your full circle. I don't think Cersei is just going to sit tight and wait for Euron to make it back to Westeros with the Golden Company. I believe she is going to take charge and lead her troops north herself. Cersei has clearly made it obvious that she has no need of any men in her life, not even Jaime. She got what she wanted from Jaime, another child, and now he is once again disposable to her. I know it sounds crazy, especially since she is pregnant with Jaime's baby, but Cersei is crazy. Originally, I had thought that there was only a couple of ways that her pregnancy would play out for this story. I was clearly wrong, as you will find out later in this video as I explore more options possible. The first option is that there is a great chance that she may miscarry very early on in the pregnancy, possibly even her very first scene in the new season. If I may, I will mention a spoiler from last year, so if you do not want to hear it, maybe plug your ears and count to 20 or fast forward until you see a green sign on the screen. Okay, start now. Last season, during all the script leaks that had gotten out, they had mentioned a scene of Cersei waking up in a bed of blood, but it never came to happen on the show. People believe that it may happen this season. It may also be a false leader leaked to throw us off track, so you never really know. As a second option, her pregnancy could play out a bit more tragic, with her carrying the baby for a longer period of time, but still ending in a miscarriage. If she manages to make it all the way to Winterfell only to miscarry upon arrival, it would give her even more reasons to rationalize the hatred she feels for the Starks, Tyrion, and Dany, that somehow it was their fault that she would lose her baby. Although I really don't think that would work well for the fast pace that the story will be taking this season. The third option would be that she is able to keep her pregnancy up until she finally returns back to King's Landing. Like Maggie the Frog had warned Cersei, she would only have 3 children, right? Yes, we will come back to that subject a little later. Besides, we all witnessed Dany pregnant with Rhaego riding horseback during the entire 9 months of pregnancy. Although Dany had youth on her side, Cersei's age and stress level will definitely make this a high-risk pregnancy. But no worries, she has the amazing Maester Qyburn by her side. Talk about a weight lifted off your shoulders. Okay, still not convinced? Well, let's take a look at some of the clues where I believe it foreshadowed the possibility of Cersei wearing armor and leading the troops. All the way back to Season 1, I believe it was right after the fight between Ned and Jaime, we heard an argument between Cersei and King Robert. Cersei insulted Robert by saying, "I should be the one in armor and you the gown," in which case Robert replied with a smack across the face. Then, in Season 2, when Cersei was sheltering some of the ladies and children during the Battle of the Blackwater Bay, Cersei made the statement to Sansa, "I should have been born a man. I'd rather face 1,000 swords than be shut up inside with this flock of frightened hens." Once again, in Season 3, while at dinner with Lady Margaery, Loras, and King Joffrey, Cersei advised Lady Margaery, "You might find a bit of armor quite useful once you become queen, perhaps before." Plus, how many numerous times did we hear her give the speech to her father, Jaime, or Tyrion about how she was the one that actually listened and learned from her father? In the books, there is even a bit more foreshadowing, mentioning that Cersei would dress in Jaime's armor and walk around fooling people, making them believe she was Jaime. In all reality, how else are they going to tie Cersei into what is going on in Winterfell and up north? Are they seriously going to have her sitting in King's Landing, knitting booties on the Iron Throne, waiting for ravens to possibly deliver news from the north? I don't think so. Things are going to be getting crazy real fast, and she's going to be right there in the mix of it. I can see this possibly playing out a couple of different ways. One way is that we actually see her in armor on horseback, leading her forces, even possibly disguised as Jaime as they approach the gates of Winterfell. Or just simply armored as herself, head held high, Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, leading her troops north with that great big carriage following behind that we've seen from Season 1. Or, what I think is more likely, she could travel inside the carriage for the most part of the trip, and only appear astride a horse at times, like we watched Sansa or Lyanna Mormont do in some of the past episodes. However she gets there, I truly believe she is traveling to Winterfell with the mountain by her side, of course. I don't think there is any way, shape, or form that she is going to be waiting in King's Landing for a raven to deliver a play-by-play news update of what is going on with her troops up north. She is going to want to see it all happen firsthand and handle everything herself. She could even handle Jaime if he shows up ready to spill the beans about her lack of involvement, only to fool him by saying that he was right all along and how wrong she was, and to prove it that she marched north as promised. That would surely sweep the Kingslayer back over to her side, in which case she would quickly sweep him off to jail. As long as Cersei's shield, the mountain, is alive, well, maybe not alive, but functioning, she feels nothing can stop or hurt her. I think it would be a great scene to almost replay the very first episode of King Robert's entrance into Winterfell. Instead of seeing Jaime and the Hound entering in on horseback, you would see what appears to be Jaime, whether it is Cersei or even another general, accompanied by the Mountain and followed by that big royal carriage that may or may not be holding the Queen. All of the Queen's forces coming up the King's Road, parking right outside of Winterfell's gates. Watching that big carriage come through the gates would almost feel like we are watching a Trojan horse enter Winterfell. It makes me sick to my stomach even thinking about it. Another thing we have to think of is what will be going on inside of Winterfell prior to any troops arriving. Jon Snow is going to be one busy guy. One thing for sure, Jon is going to have to do a whole lot of negotiating in order to get all of these different houses on the same page. First, he's going to be dealing with the Northerners not wanting or trusting a Targaryen to enter the gates of Winterfell, let alone bend the knee and call her their queen. Matter of fact, the Northerners might have taken matters into their own hands by the time Jon and Dany make it back to Winterfell, as we heard them express their concerns to Sansa last season. Lord Glover had said, "The king in the north should stay in the north. We did not choose you to rule us, my lady, but perhaps we should have." Followed by Lord Royce's comment about, "The Knights of the Vale came here for you, Lady Stark." Her comment trying to pacify them by saying, "You are very kind, my lords, but Jon is our king. He is doing what he thinks is best." But that scene was followed up with her stressing, "I warned Jon this would happen, that he couldn't leave the north and expect it to just sit and wait for him like Ghost." With Jon leaving the north for such a lengthy period of time, bending the knee while gone to a Targaryen queen, and already telling Sansa prior to leaving that the north was hers and would be in good hands, it would not surprise me if they claim her as Queen in the North. Now, whether Sansa will relinquish this title back to Jon once they arrive, or possibly keep her title until she and the Northerners are satisfied that Jon's decision was the best decision for the North, remains to be seen. I definitely do not think it is going to be all open arms and smooth sailing, at least not in the beginning. I think the people of Westeros are still going to be bickering about who the rightful king, queen, or heir is or should be, all the way up to the very end when they are confronted with the Night King. Then they may realize what Jon has been telling them all along. There is only one war that matters, the Great War. Winter is truly coming for all. Just to add icing to the cake, not only is he going to have the task of convincing them all to trust him and welcome a Targaryen queen, he's also got to get them, most importantly Sansa, to trust that the arriving King's Landing troops are there for support, not to mention the surprise they will all feel upon the Queen Cersei arrival. Can you imagine Sansa's face once she hears that the Queen's forces will be heading right for Winterfell? I hope she is sitting down for that one. On a happy note, we will have the reunion of Tyrion and Sansa. I hope Sansa is very warm to Tyrion. And speaking of reunions, hopefully we will get an amazing reunion of Arya, Jon, and Bran. So now, here is the big question. Once we get past all of the formalities of arrivals and reunions, how quickly will it all start to fall apart? Can you imagine the introductions that are going to be going on? Queen Daenerys? This is my sister, apparently the Queen in the North, Queen Sansa. Only to have Queen Cersei appear out of nowhere, and can you just imagine the look on her face when she realizes that she now has not only one, but two younger, more beautiful queens to deal with. I mean, honest to God, she thought she was done with that part of the prophecy when she blew up Queen Margaery. May she rest in pieces. Now Cersei is back to square one. This Maggie prophecy is like the prophecy from hell. It just won't stop.
And just a little side comment on that subject. I think Cersei, once again, has that part of the prophecy all wrong. Like Mr. Martin said, prophecy can be tricky business. I think the candidate who is younger and more beautiful, the one who is coming to cast Cersei down, is this guy right here. The prophecy never says queen. It just says another. The word beautiful is associated more with women, and therefore it tricks your brain into thinking it's a queen. But this guy is beautiful, both inside and out, and that's true beauty. Justice will be served. Wait and see. One thing I could see as a possibility would be if Cersei had Tyrion turn himself over to her upon arrival and had him escorted back to King's Landing to be used as collateral for the guarantee of her safety. That way it avoids any immediate conflict or retaliation from Dany. Tyrion will willingly turn himself over to Cersei, and they will only be able to stand by and watch. One thing that Cersei must have is a plan, because she will still need to contend with the 2 dragons that are there with Dany. If for any reason Dany had to take off with the dragons, for instance to defend Carhold or the Last Hearth, it would be the pivotal time for Cersei to begin her master plan. She and her troops are going to sack Winterfell when the opportunity arises. Like I said, Cersei is smart. She kept her cool while the enemy was outside her door in King's Landing. Managed to broker a deal with her Valonqar, which allows her to seize him and snake her way under the guise of a white flag and march all of her forces straight to the gates of her enemy, Winterfell. She may even use Euron and the Golden Company to attack from one side while her troops come from another. The War of the Queens is going to start, and it's going down in Winterfell's backyard. Winterfell is going to be burned. Remember all of the food that Sansa had sent ahead to Winterfell in preparation for the war to come? That's going to be gone. The North is going to suffer tremendously from this attack. Matter of fact, if Carhold and the Last Hearth do come under attack, and they know that the Night King is possibly heading right for Winterfell next, we might get a little bit of a flashback feeling of Queen Cersei and Sansa from the Blackwater Battle episode, where Cersei was hosting women in Maegor's Holdfast, only this time it will be Sansa hosting those who are not able to fight, such as the children that are too young, those who are too old, or even those who are sick or unable. Bran, for instance, being of extreme importance, will need to be sheltered and kept safe. What better place for safety than in the crypts of Winterfell? And this is where I'm going to end this part of the Season 8 predictions. While making my current Game of Thrones Season 8 prediction video, I had another theory happen to come to my mind. It is very new to me, so I haven't put much thought into it, but since it was for the same character that I was currently on, I felt it would be a great prediction to speculate about. Again, this is another prediction that I have not heard from anyone else, so I was really excited. So here it goes. In Season 7, we learned that Cersei has discovered that she is once again pregnant with Jaime's baby. I know there are some that think she might be lying and just trying to manipulate Jaime in order to keep him by her side. If that was the case, I think it was a big failure because we all watched him walk away from her and their child in the final episode. The majority who believe that she is truly pregnant also believe that she will miscarry the baby. This is mostly due to the woods witch known as Maggie the Frog and the prophecy given to Cersei when she was a young girl. Wanting to know their future, Cersei and her friends went to Maggie to have their future told in hopes of finding out what husbands they would wed.
The witch reluctantly agreed to tell them only after Cersei threatened her. Cersei was allowed to ask 3 questions. The first was in regards to Rhaegar Targaryen, when she asked Maggie, "When will I marry the prince?" Maggie answered, "Never. You will marry the king." Cersei's next question was, "I will be queen, though?" And Maggie answered, "Aye, queen you shall be, until there comes another, younger and more beautiful, to cast you down and take all that you hold dear." Cersei's final question was, "Will the king and I have children?" And Maggie answered one last time, "Oh, aye, 6 and 10 for him, and 3 for you. Gold will be their crowns, and gold their shrouds. And when your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands around your pale white throat and choke the life from you." The final question in regards to the number of children that Cersei will actually have is like a nail in the coffin, a final piece of the prophecy to put an end to any speculation about Cersei ever having another child, like the whole Cersei plus Robert equals Gendry theory, right? Right. But, you know, you can't stop a good imagination from creating new ideas, so here it goes. For the past 2 videos, I have been explaining how heavy this prophecy has weighed on Cersei her entire life. She has been working on trying to change that prophecy since she walked out of Maggie the Frog's door, yet to no avail, it just keeps on getting one step closer to completion. So we can understand Cersei's elation upon finding out that she is pregnant again. She believes she's got this prophecy beat. But like I said previously, we all know what is going to happen, or at least we expect that she will miscarry the baby. And just like I covered earlier in this video, that she could possibly miscarry very early on, or more traumatically, miscarry at a later stage. But what I didn't discuss was the possibility of her having a miscarriage at a much later date in the pregnancy. The possibility of her having to give birth to a stillborn child. Something like that would possibly push Cersei to her absolute edge of extreme insanity. A devastating loss of a beautiful child that was the absolute only thing that gave her a glimmer of hope for a future. We all know how much Cersei loves her children. It has been stressed to us throughout the entire series. The love she has for her children is as fierce as a lion. The grief she suffers from the loss of her children has left her crazed and angry. Just how desperate do you think Cersei would be in order to save her child? This precious bundle of hope that she is carrying. You know what they say. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And like Lady Olenna had said to Cersei while in the Great Sept of Baelor, we mothers do what we can to keep our sons from the grave. Okay, let's take a step back. Remember back when Bran was saying goodbye to Maester Luwin? How Maester Luwin had mentioned that he had brought Bran and Rickon into the world? It is also mentioned in the books by Catelyn Stark, how Maester Luwin had seen her naked many times from bringing her children into the world. So I think it would be pretty safe to say that Cersei would entrust no other person to bring her child into the world other than her own personal maester, Qyburn, which just so happens to be the same guy who was able to bring the mountain back from the brinks of death. Would Cersei be desperate enough, crazed with grief and fear, to have Qyburn make her baby into a zombie baby? Desperate enough to try anything to save that baby and change what the future is said to be held by the Woods Witch? I think it's a good possibility. Now, by any means, please don't think I mean she would intentionally want a zombie baby. I'm sure she would expect much better results. Qyburn has had plenty of time to experiment on people, living and dead, since he created the mountain. I also think it could still work with the Woods Witch prophecy. She would not be giving birth to a living, breathing child. Even if Qyburn could save the child, would it really even still be considered a child? It could very well end up being a monster, just like Lady Olenna had referred to Cersei as when confessing to Jaime about killing Joffrey. And here I go again with one of those old sayings, apples don't fall far from the tree. And as we heard Maester Pycelle refer to Qyburn's first creation, the mountain, as an abomination. Can you imagine how horrible this would be for any of the characters to experience? It would be devastating for Cersei, Jaime, and even Tyrion. Anyone who has a heart or children of their own can surely relate to how horrible it would be to watch your family member go to such an extreme measure of desperation. The loss of a child at any stage is heartbreaking. This situation would be pure agony. Qyburn, on the other hand, would be in his glory. The look on his face when examining the White's animated, detached arm at the dragon pit scene says it all. Qyburn was all over that arm as if it was the best gift he had ever received, dropped right there at his feet. I could even see something like this playing out even if Cersei doesn't go full term. We were all creeped out by Stannis' wife, Selyse, when it showed all of the jars of babies that she had kept to visit. Qyburn could literally collect whatever remains of Cersei's unborn child and even attempt to grow the child in his laboratory, only to present his queen his newest creation upon completion of incubation, a royal zombie baby. And we all thought Joffrey was bad. In all reality, we have to remember that Cersei is faced with the same dilemma that Dany was faced with last season. Who will be the heir to the throne if she is gone? Luckily, I don't think we are going to have to worry about that for either of the characters. So what do you all think? Let me know in the comments, and stay tuned for the next video continuing my Season 8 predictions. I'm super excited to get on to the next prediction video because you're not going to believe what I think is coming. I can't wait to finally get these prediction videos completed and over, hopefully before any script leaks get out. I'm always just so curious to see how close or how far off all of the predictions that are out there, including my own, will compare to the actual show and story. Hopefully we can get by this timely wait with no script leaks. Speculating about this story is so fun, and it's truly amazing how many ways people can imagine the story unfolding. I don't even want to say who is up next in my Season 8 predictions because I don't want to give anything away. So I'll just say that up next in my Season 8 predictions will be more of our favorite Mad Queen Cersei, more on her master plan, and a new set of characters involved. I would also like to thank each and every one of my new subscribers. I really appreciate everyone who joined and all of the kind comments and questions. I cannot forget to thank Talking Thrones for giving me such a wonderful recommendation to all of his viewers that watch his videos. Thank you all again, from here to the moon and past the sun and stars.